Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Jeremy Crow, and tonight we're going to be talking about neuroplasticity. Now, this just means that the brain can change itself. So it's plastic in the sense that it can be modified and change and adapt over time. And there are things that we can do to make the brain more adaptable, to make it more plastic in a sense. Beyond Zebra, howdy. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Um, all right. So, first off, I think it would be fun to do a little divination. I tried this last live stream. And let's do something a little different this time. Let's do a type of bibliomancy. And I'm going to use the Tao Te Ching for that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scroll through or just flip through and then land on one of the chapters of the I Ching and read it and see what we get. Okay, hold on. Just going to set the mic down. All right, so what we got here was chapter 23. And actually, I'm just going to put my glasses on 1 second. All right, so chapter 23 of the Tao Te Ching. It is a natural thing to talk sparingly, and surely this is right, because even a great wind and lashing rain do not go on forever. It is naturally so, both heaven and earth know it. And if neither can hold on to such an outpouring for long, what makes people think they can? If you follow the Tao, all you do will belong to it. If you act with virtue, all you do will have its power. If you lose these, then every way you will be lost. If you go the way of Tao, it can only be with you. If you go the way of virtue, its purity will sustain you. But if you go the way of loss, then that will be your name. And if you cannot trust, no one will trust you. Interesting. All right, so I wonder what if that resonates with anyone. Feel free to comment. Basically, it's saying, you can't just blab on forever about things, and that if you are acting in accordance with nature, essentially, with the natural flow of things, then you will have a lot of power behind those actions. Whereas if you go against nature, I suppose, then you'll be fighting it, and you will achieve loss, apparently. So that's what that chapter 23. Now, the number 23 perhaps might also resonate with some people. I know that that's one of those numbers that people see everywhere if they are looking for it, I suppose. So, neuroplasticity. What we can do, what we know about science, or what science knows about the brain and how it adapts, if we have built in a lot of neuroplasticity into our brain, or a lot of redundancy, we could say, then if there is some sort of damage through neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, or if there is a traumatic brain injury of some sort, if you have built in redundancy into your brain before that point, then the effects will be minimized. So you will retain your cognitive abilities a lot more effectively if you have prepped for it. So essentially what you're doing is you're building folds and wrinkles into your brain, and you are developing more robust connections between the different synapses of the brain and those neural pathways. There's a lot more of them if you have developed it. And that way, if there is some sort of damage, whether it's through degeneration or through an injury, then you'll be able to adapt better. Other parts of the brain will be able to take over the functions that were damaged through whatever function damaged it. So how can we build in redundancy into the brain? And before I get into that, I just wanted to address some of these comments. CRV Vancouver, BC said, beautiful in regards to the passage from the Tao Te Ching. True Detective, welcome, says hi. BEC says hey. Welcome everybody who's here, and anybody who hasn't commented as well, and anybody watching this as an archived video. Welcome, and thank you for being here. So, what are some ways that we can develop redundancy? How can we take advantage of the neuroplasticity of the brain? Well, there's a few different ways, and one of those is simply to introduce novelty. Oh, thank you, BEC, for that $5 super chat. I really appreciate that. And actually, I set a goal. I said that if we got 5 super chats during this half hour of at least $5, then I would pull a card from the tarot and interpret it for you. And so I appreciate that, Beck. That actually helps a lot to support the channel. True mentions The Brain That Changes Itself, which is a book that apparently talks about that. I haven't read it, but sounds interesting. Sounds like a good read. So, introducing novelty. So things that you wouldn't normally do. And that helps build neuroplasticity, it helps build redundancy into your brain, harnessing the neuroplasticity of the brain. Oh, thank you, True Detective, for a super chat. We're at 2 now. Just 3 more, and I'll pull a card from the tarot. So what are some novel things that we can do to stimulate that growth of neural pathways, folds in the brain, things like that? Some of the classic examples that you'll hear sometimes would be to try brushing your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Oh, another super chat. Thank you, CRV Vancouver. Really appreciate that. Just 2 more to hit our goal. This is very quick. So brushing your teeth, if you normally brush your teeth with your right hand, try brushing your teeth with your left hand instead. Another thing you can try is practice writing with your non-dominant hand. I'm naturally right-handed, so I will sometimes brush my teeth with my left hand. And I've done pages and pages of writing with my left hand just to practice building those neural pathways. And that way, if there is any sort of damage that happens to my brain through, like I said, through degeneration, disease, or injury, then my brain will be able to adapt better. So if there was a stroke, for example, and perhaps I might lose the ability to utilize the right side of my body very effectively, I can always write with my left hand. And it's not just that. All of the different functions that were being done by different parts of the brain that got damaged now can adapt quicker to utilize other parts of the brain. And not just if you practice writing with your left hand, you'll be able to write better with your left hand, which is obvious. but in less intuitive ways, you're building redundancy into your brain like that. Some other examples could be to take a different route. So if you commute to work or school, for example, if you take a different route than you normally would take, just choose to go a different way. If you're driving, walking, riding your bike, um, just take a different route sometimes. And that will build in redundancy into your brain through the map making function of your brain. As you traverse the world, your brain is constantly creating and updating these internal maps. And you will be creating, it's almost like a metaphor for the neural pathways in your brain that you are literally physically taking a different route when you go somewhere, and you are adding different neural pathway routes in your brain while you do that. So those are different ways of doing it. And a side benefit of taking a different route occasionally is if you happen to be being stalked, then it throws anybody tracking your movements off. um, but there's a lot of other ways that we can build redundancy into the brain, taking advantage of the neuroplasticity factor. So some of those other ways include learning a new skill. So, for example, if you learn a musical instrument, if you learn how to play a musical instrument, that builds a lot of extra redundancy into your brain. It helps develop the folds and wrinkles and neural pathways of your brain to be more complex and adaptable, just simply by learning to play a musical instrument. Or if you already know a musical instrument, to learn a second instrument. Now, the same can be said for people who learn a second language or a third language. These types of exercises work the brain and force that type of growth and diversity within the structure. The very structure of your brain changes when you do these things. And they found that individuals who know a second language, for example, it can delay the onset of symptoms from Alzheimer's by even a couple years. You get a couple extra good years of cognitive ability just by building that redundancy into your brain through learning a second language. And you don't even have to be good at that second language. The very act of learning or trying builds that redundancy. So this is the same with a musical instrument. Now, you can also do this with a physical skill. So, musical instrument does involve physical skill, of course, like drumming, for example. If you do drumming with a full drum kit, you're learning how to coordinate all four of your limbs independently, which, if you've ever done drumming on a drum kit, you know how difficult that can be when you first start. But as you practice, you get better at it. And the very act of practicing, when you feel that frustration, when you know what you want your limbs to do and they're not doing it, you get that feeling of frustration. That sensation is how you know you are stimulating the brain and the neural pathways, not just in your brain, but in your whole nervous system, actually. You're developing that additional complexity and resilience into your physical body. That feeling of frustration, you can learn to love it because you understand, oh, I understand that my body is struggling to adapt. And it's like muscle soreness when you're working out. That muscle soreness tells you that you worked out hard enough to stimulate the muscle growth. Similarly, if you feel that frustration when you're trying to achieve a new skill, such as playing a musical instrument or learning a language, that frustration you feel, that is a signal that you're triggering that growth and development of additional neural pathways. So you can learn to love that sensation. It can be frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating, but you can learn to appreciate it. Just like somebody who's an athlete can appreciate that muscle soreness over time when they understand what it represents. Physical activity itself helps develop neuroplasticity as well, not only from learning a physical skill, but also from the health benefits that that exercise brings, the additional blood flow and oxygen to different parts of the body, etc. That helps with the health of the brain and the nervous system. It helps tone the nervous system, and it can alleviate feelings of anxiety, stress, and things like that. It is a type of stress, but it can alleviate chronic stress factors that you may have in your life. So those are the main ways. Now you'll find ads. You'll see ads online saying, "Oh, develop your brain by playing this game 5 minutes every day," and those can be useful for sure. Like Sudoku, crosswords, even word search, those types of things. They can actually help develop your brain, but so would any video game. Anything that challenges your mind. Reading books that are just slightly above your reading level, just barely, that provide a little bit of a challenge. And this is another way of actually getting into a state of flow, or getting into the zone, as they say. If you're in the zone, it's like the best state to be in for learning, and it facilitates that growth of diversity within the nervous system and the brain. So if you study how to enter flow, or how to get into the zone, as they say, those are a couple different ways of describing the same thing. That is one of the optimal states to be in to develop that additional redundancy. So let me see if we got some comments here. Yeah, so CRV Vancouver, BC said, for a while I wrote a diary with my left hand. I wrote way less analytically and more detailed. Yeah, interesting. So actually, it, like CRV mentions, using the other side of your body can activate other parts of the brain that aren't normally activated when you're using your dominant hand. And it can actually lead to additional creativity and things like that. Okay, she also said here, they recommend doing this also in controlled remote viewing. Drawing with the left hand is a book that is suggested. Okay. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, you can basically unlock latent abilities through activating different parts of the brain than you normally would. And also a lot of esoteric practices such as ritual and energy work practices, those will actually stimulate different let me give a different example. If you're doing divination, for example, if you pull a few different cards from the tarot and you're considering how they relate to each other and how they relate to the question that was posed when you did the reading, that allows you to correlate different parts of the mind that normally wouldn't necessarily interact. And that way you can actually unlock epiphanies and realizations. That light bulb will go off above your head sometimes more often. You can trigger that state of realization when you can connect disparate parts of the mind that normally don't. Beyond Zebra apologized for not being able to contribute. That's totally fine. Don't worry about that. This is offered completely free. The super chats are just for people who feel like they want to contribute financially. But just being here and participating in the chat, especially if you click like and subscribe on the video, that has a huge impact on supporting the channel and letting the YouTube algorithm know that you appreciate this content, and it will help others. It'll help them send it to other people, show it to other people that may also be interested, and that will help spread the information, and people can benefit from hearing about techniques such as we're talking about in this video. So don't worry about if you can't contribute financially. There are a lot of other ways to support the channel if you feel so inclined. And yeah, so if you haven't hit like, that is a free way that you can support this channel, and I do appreciate all the likes that people send on this channel. Okay, well, that was really what I wanted to cover today. This information is something that a lot of people have been exposed to in the past, but maybe have forgotten. And hopefully watching this video will help you realize, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. And maybe tonight, before you go to bed, you'll brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. Things like that. And so this is just a reminder to introduce novelty into your routine. And that can just also be going into a different grocery store, for example. If you always go to the same shop and you walk down the aisles in the same way every time, start at the other. Even if you're going to the same grocery store, maybe you collect points or something, loyalty points. Go a different route through the grocery store, go backwards through it, maybe. And these types of simple ways you can introduce novelty into your routine are ways that you can increase the diversity of the neural pathways and prepare yourself in case something were to happen. And also, it just allows you to enhance your cognitive function in general, regardless, even if you never experience any sort of degenerative disease or illness or injury like that. It can still have a huge benefit. And this is really important too. Get really good sleep. Prioritize getting really good sleep if you're able to, because this will, as you sleep and you dream, your brain will sort through these various different novel experiences, and it will reinforce different neural pathways, and it can de-emphasize certain neural pathways that it has determined are not as valuable, I suppose you could say. So your brain does go through that process every night when you sleep, or during the day if you sleep, if you take naps, or if you sleep during the day because you work night shift, whatever. Whenever you do sleep, your brain is going to, and your nervous system is going to go through that auditing process, and it will go through and it will help you with that. But you have to get the sleep. So if you are chronically sleep deprived, then it's not going to be as effective as if you were well rested. So those are some important things. Beyond Zebra said, I will stir my cooking pot with the other hand. Yeah, exactly. So these are the types of little things that you can introduce into your routine that break the routine a little bit. So true. More you learn, the more you know. The more you know that you don't know. Yeah. Lifelong learning. That's the other thing too, is never stop learning in general. And it's more than just introducing novelty. It's also pursuing knowledge and developing skills, even if you know that you're never going to be a master at that skill. Do it anyways. The journey itself has benefits. And especially if you enjoy it, just enjoy yourself. Don't put a lot of pressure. Like, you know, you may never be a pro athlete, but learning a new sport, for example, or a new skill, physical skill, martial art, you know, even if you are never going to be pro level, it's still valuable for you to do. And maybe you will. There are people that have picked up an instrument, a new instrument that they never touched before. Maybe they never picked up an instrument in their entire life. And they pick it up at age 55, 60. And within a few years, they're composing their own new songs and things like that. And really enjoying themselves. And that is so valuable. Andrew More Black. Hello. You said, you are so effing awesome, Jeremy. I love you so much. And Michael W. Ford, all Luciferian fam. Thanks so much. So after this, I'm just going to wrap up here. We did our half hour, which I'm trying to do pretty much every night. So if you come back tomorrow night at 10:30 or any night, at 10:30 Eastern Time, you're likely to catch the beginning of a roughly about a half hour live stream where we talk about all sorts of different things. A few nights ago, we talked about King Sejong of what is now known as Korea, back in 1500, developed the Hangul alphabet, and he did so as an act of rebellion against the monopoly that the ruling class had on literacy. And that was had a huge impact on the ability for the working class to obtain and share knowledge with one another. And yesterday, I believe we talked about whether or not Luciferianism was a left-hand path or a right-hand path or something in between. And you can check that out if you go to my channel and check out the past live streams. So those are some different topics that we've covered very recently. Tonight we're talking about neuroplasticity and how to take advantage of that to build redundancy into your brain. After these half-hour live streams, I will do a private session for members of the Novus Ordo Luciferi. That's an esoteric order that is built around the idea of Gnostic Luciferianism, and it teaches a system of occultism called Luciferian Alchemy, which aims to heal the self and manifest a complete harmonized self, which is a euphemism for the fifth element or the quintessence of the self. And we could also refer to that process as apotheosis. And that's a very important concept within Luciferianism. And members of the Novus Ordo Luciferi, which, by the way, it's only $5 a month to join. If you want to join, if you're interested, there's a link in the comments, in the description below to the Patreon, and you can join via the Patreon page for just $5. And you can even just do 1 month to check it out. And you'll get access to a back catalog of over 40 hours of recorded video lessons, multiple documents on teachings on Gnostic Luciferianism and related topics, practices such as ritual magic, astral projection, lucid dreaming, energy work, that sort of thing. If you're interested in those sorts of things, you can join the Novus Ordo Luciferi and get access to those teachings, as well as guidance on how to put it into practice in your life. And be part of a thriving community around the world. We have members in, I think, over a dozen countries at this point. And and access to these private sessions. Some of them are recorded, and if you join, you can get access to that entire back catalog of recorded sessions. Tonight, there will be a recorded session, and we're going to be discussing money magic. So if you're interested in that, you can jump on, join now if you want, with the Patreon link that's in the description of this video, and you'll have access to a post that has a secret meeting link for tonight's meeting, which we will discuss money magic, which is an ongoing series that we had started a while back, but we hadn't done a money magic session in a while. So tonight there'll be a bit of a recap of what was covered in the previous money magic sessions, as well as we're going to go forward and cover some additional material. So if that's of interest to you, as well as any of the other things, I would highly encourage you to check out that Patreon page. Join now if you want, and you get access. We're going to go live at 11:11 p.m. this evening, which is in less than 10 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this up. I really appreciate everybody who showed up tonight, everybody who participated in the live chat, anybody who is watching this as an archive later on. And if you want to leave any comments, please do so, and I'll try to do my best to respond to everyone. Remember to hit that thumbs up, CRV Vancouver said. Andrew Mooreblack asked a couple questions here. What if you play different types of computer games? Yeah, absolutely. That does help with building redundancy in your brain, especially if you learn different games. If you try different types of games and vary it up, change it up here and there, and play different ones and different types of video games and computer games, for sure. Andrew also said, I love Taoism. I love that Whip Goddess and Queen of Heaven. If you go back at the beginning of this video, we did a bibliomancy where we read one of the chapters at random from the Tao Te Ching, which ended up being chapter 23. And if you missed it, you can always go back and watch the beginning of this video. Again, I appreciate everybody. Thank you for everybody who left a super chat. BEC, True Detective, CRV Vancouver. I really appreciate you. If you don't have the funds to support the channel financially, you can also hit like, subscribe, hit that notification bell as well, so that you'll get notification when I'm going to be doing one of these sessions. But most nights, I'm going to try and do a half hour starting at 10:30 Eastern time, PM. And then afterwards, we do a private session for the members of the NOL, the Novus Ordo Luciferi, which I'm going to get prepared for now. So until next time, everyone, stay lucid.